Bonsoir. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue à QI, or QE, as we should more properly call it, because tonight we fare forth into our favourite foreign fiefdom, land of fromage, froideur and flageolet, la belle France. Avec moi, ce soir, je suis delighted to welcome le grand légume Phil Jupitus. Et le bourgeois gentilhomme Hugh Dennis. Merci. La femme fatale Joe Brand. And Baba the elephant. But before we laisser les bons temps rouler, les champignons musicales, s'il vous plaît. And Phil goes... Hugo va...
Hugo. D'accord.
Ça fait toujours boum, boum, boum.
Joe va...
Non.
Plenty.
Non, je ne regrette rien.
And Alan goes... Colour me very touched, Alan. Thank you.
Can I take my onions off now?
You can take your onions off.
And the slightly restricting Montet.
Yeah. Then, of course you must. It's Martet, it's feminine,
Yeah.
-5.
I said mon because I'm masculine.
It doesn't quite work that way, I'm
Doesn't it?
afraid, no. For example, the word vagina is masculine, whichever sex you are, and you're likely to be female if you have one.
But you would say mon vagina.
You, as it were, yes. You would.
It makes it sound like a mountain somewhere, doesn't it? It's not, is it?
Yes.
Oh, I must
Funny-looking
climb,
mountain.
mon vagina.
Many have. And many have fallen off.
Bon, allons-y, mes copains. Alors, à ce moment-ci, je vous donne des bonus points si vous pouvez répondre en français. OK? Yeah.
Oui.
Very good. Already, bonus points to you. Phil.
Rien de rien.
Non.
Plus tard, nous verrons. Phil, comment ça va?
That was French.
That is fluent. Joe,
Oui.
voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
Pardon me. Not asked.
Excellent. 4 points. Alain, donne-moi un mot, s'il vous plaît. Un mot pour un mammifère marin qui ne peut avaler aucun plus grand qu'un pamplemousse.
Pamplemousse. What's a pamplemousse? Ask the audience.
I think
What's a pamplemousse?
it's French palm.
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Do I?
See, Alan, for the last 6 years, you have yearned for the answer to a question to be, and it never has been.
The blue whale.
And that is the answer! Oh. I asked you, in my broken French, to name a marine mammal that couldn't swallow anything bigger than a grapefruit,
Right.
and that is a blue whale.
Yeah.
Oh, you could have had such pleasure and
Yeah.
joy. Never mind, never mind. I'm going to show you a picture of some Frenchmen, and I just want to know what they're looking for in the swamp.
Where they've hidden their cameras, I think.
Does the tide come in really, really quickly there? Is that what's going on?
Well, the sea is not that far away. We're in Gascony, in an area of France called Les Landes, south of Bordeaux.
Je pense qu'il cherche un mouchoir.
They're looking for a handkerchief.
Yes. That's not because I think they are, but I don't know any other French words.
Oddly enough, the first three letters of the thing you think they're searching for are correct.
Hand job.
No. You said mouchoir, and it's mou...
Mouton.
Mouton is the right answer. They're looking for sheep. They're shepherds. They are Landes shepherds, and they...
No, they're not!
Are all the sheep on stilts as well?
Is there a French programme called One Man and His Stilts, then? Does that work?
If you see the one on the left, you can see he's got two stilts tied to his legs quite clearly, plus a stick. The stick is there to make yourself a tripod so you can stand still. But essentially, they can go really fast around this 4,000 square mile area of France where their sheep are. They can see their sheep better because they're higher up, and they negotiate this boggy terrain brilliantly. And they carried on doing this right up until the 20th century.
When the pole finally got stuck right up their arse.
I think you'd be delighted when someone invented the Land Rover, weren't they?
I think...
I don't know if any French shepherds might be watching. Get dogs.
You'd think.
Might save you a bit of time overall.
Dogs
rather
on
than-
stilts.
Oh, don't get me started. Tiny dogs, like corgis,
But
on
massive stilts.
18-foot stilts.
Towering over bigger dogs.
Yeah!
At last.
Well, they tie them...
They would, because you know how the little dogs sometimes try and mount the bigger dogs, don't
Well, they do.
Yeah, they'd take that opportunity straight away.
Well, they'd be too big, so they'd probably mount buses. Imagine a
Giraffe.
corgi on stilts knobbing a bendy bus.
Imagine if you
Dream,
will.
isn't it? There was a famous shepherd who walked to Paris and climbed the Eiffel Tower in his stilts and then walked all the way to Moscow in 58 days in his stilts.
What a remarkable man.
Wasn't he?
In 58 days?
58 days he walked to Moscow. That's 1,830 of your puny English miles. However, now you can go to Les Landes and you can see them dancing in their stilts. It's a tourist attraction. Until the early 20th century, they used stilts to herd their huge flocks in country that was too rough and boggy to have tracks. Now, what did French country people like this do in the winter?
They got...
Nurse! Nurse! She's out of bed again. So,
Rien de rien.
Joe Grant.
I'd like to quote a man that I met in the Aran Islands, just off Galway. And I said to him, what do you do in the winter? And he went, fishing and...
Nice.
So is that possible?
You'd have to find a lady who was wearing stilts for a start, wouldn't you? Would be very difficult.
That is a major problem.
Or a lady in a first floor window.
Are you tempted?
Oh, here they come
Yes,
again,
I
the
say.
bastard shepherds.
No, it's very extraordinary that, again, until very recently, a lot of French country people did this... Not extraordinary for certain animals, but pretty extraordinary for humans.
They hibernate.
Hibernated,
Oh.
yes. I mean, not true hibernation. Their body temperature didn't drop and so on, but they essentially kind of slept. They would wake up once or twice,
And found
have a
fortunes
biscuit, and
on.
go back to sleep again. They would...
They have to go in a cardboard box with a lot of straw.
A lot of shared
You got
bodily
them
warmth.
out in March and had a look and looked underneath. Oh, no, not ready yet.
They
So
came-
they didn't hibernate as such, they were students.
Basically, yeah, that's true. They all crammed together for bodily
Oh,
warmth.
Lorraine Kelly's on, quick, up.
Can I just... That is a really shit life, isn't it? You spend 6 months of the year on stilts and the rest of it you're asleep.
It is tough.
What's that?
As long as the other 6 months you're watching Lorraine Kelly, pas de problème.
Well, there you are. So French peasants used to hibernate in rural France until well into the 19th century. Now, what were 80% of French people unable to do in 1880?
Count, add up.
No, we're in the
Do
wrong discipline, as it were.
Write their own name.
They couldn't write their own name and they couldn't read their own name, most of them, but more importantly, if they could read and write, 80% of them didn't read and write in...
French.
Exactly.
That's odd.
120-odd years ago, 80% of French people did not speak French. It was not the majority language of
What, do
France.
they have all kinds of regional
All
dialects
kinds of
and things?
regional, not just dialects, but languages.
Like
Those
the
blokes in the
Basques.
Landes, they probably spoke sheep, didn't they?
A stilted version of it, yes. They spoke Occitan, Breton, of course.
Occitan's what you put on spots.
It does sound, there is
Yeah.
something called that, isn't
Used to
there?
be a language you knew. Particularly acne-ridden area of France.
Franco-Provençal, Flemish, Basque, of course. There were some of the major languages which are completely unrelated to French. And this is a sort of map of linguistic areas of France here. And there were 50 at least dialects and hundreds of sub-dialects. So le bon français, as they call it, proper French, was only spoken by 20%.
Where do they speak Flemish, then? Up there?
Up near the Belgian border. Wallonia.
What's the difference between a Belgian kiss and a French kiss?
Go on.
A Belgian kiss is like a French kiss, but with more phlegm.
Hey! Very good. Why, thank you.
Are we accurately representing the French?
I don't think we are.
I'm wearing ladies' knickers. That's probably a more accurate representation.
Are we more accurately representing the cast of the film The Wild Geese?
Yeah, special forces.
Broadsword calling Danny Boy.
Now, that's not the wild geese. That's very good. Excellent. Man has gone.
That's what you do when you're playing Germany.
I can do one from The Great Escape.
Go on.
Let me come with you. I can see perfectly.
Very good. Donald Pleasant to a T. Joe, do you have anything to offer in the world of war films?
Mary Poppins. Get back to work, you slag. Maybe I'm thinking of the porno version.
Mary Popshot, I've seen that.
Oh dear. Mary pops in.
Pops right. Mary pops in and out.
Yeah, right. Please, let's pull ourselves together.
It's so nice to fornicate with Mary.
Oh dear. In 1880, most French people couldn't speak French. According to a census in that year, only about 1 in 5 residents of what we now call France were fluent in French. French famously has only a quarter as many words as English, so they quite often have to use ours, but sometimes they get it a little wrong and a little lost in translation. So, traduisez, s'il vous plaît. What means un people?
Look at that typical English person. This programme's really falling back.
Absolutely.
We in no way confer to stereotypes here on QI. Yes,
So-
here is an accountant and, for some reason, Arthur Daly. That's
He goes
not a
for
French
the
bit. It's like, oh, I'll tell you, I've got 2 fingers for you here, you Look at that. Look at the in the hat over there. Look at him. It's all French.
I don't know, the white polo neck's
He's
quite
dropped
French,
his
sure.
fag and he doesn't even know it.
Do you know, I
It's
wouldn't
still
be
burning.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had a cigarette,
An invisible cigarette.
but it's been photoshopped out because the British public aren't allowed to see cigarettes.
The only advert I would agree to do is one for fags. They're bloody lovely, and you might not get cancer. I mean, you know.
That's a very fine slogan. Excellent work.
But don't listen to me, listen to Sweary Bob. Yeah, she's right. Look, they photoshopped this out. Hattie over there ain't smoking, we do, because it's lovely. He's not French, Stephen, please.
OK.
Let's at least get someone with onions in.
we're no closer. We're no closer to discovering what les people
Les
means.
people. Oh, the in crowd, the pop, the kind of the hit now.
Something
happening
even
kittens.
worse than that. What is our
upper classes.
current obsession with in England?
Celebrities.
Oh, celebrities.
Are they?
Celebrities are les people.
Oh,
Pathetic, isn't it?
merde.
What is brushing?
Blushing.
Brushing.
Is it a dental thing, is it, or not?
It's not dental, but it does involve the headal area.
Cut your hair.
Someone would do it to you in a salon.
Oh,
Lick
how
your
lovely.
hair.
Someone licks your hair in a salon.
I pay for it.
Oh, fair enough.
Give me 40 quid to lick it.
Stop it.
And for 50 quid, we'll get a cow to come in and lick it.
I'm not talking about the hair on my head.
Oh, no, please. Enough already.
My
It's
legs,
a
on my
blow
pinky
dry.
line. Blow dry.
Brushing is a blow dry. And what is re-looking?
A blow job.
No.
Is it a double take?
An excellent example of the breed, if I may say.
A repeat.
Not a repeat, it's another thing which was very popular. There were television shows devoted to.
Oh, a clip show.
No, that's more logical. It's weird. It's
Is it a sort of reinterpretation or something?
yeah, it's a makeover.
Oh, right, OK.
A makeover is a relooking.
Is it?
A relooking is a makeover.
How does this...
Relooking extreme.
Yeah,
How does
exactly.
this Académie Française allow this?
It doesn't. The Académie Française would not accept these. They wouldn't go into a French dictionary. But they are used all the time. Usage in the end is the arbiter final, surely. Finally, Vaseline.
To grease yourself up, Stephen.
Oh, dear. No.
Vaseline, that's like the two Spanish firemen, Jose and Jose B. That's my favourite Spanish
Oh,
joke.
very good. Jose.
To butter someone up.
Yes, exactly right. Yes. To flatter, to butter someone up. Very good. Excellent. Now, this is the original design for a familiar French object. What is it? Oh!
There's an elephant in the room.
Oh, no. How did you find that elephant? That's from last series. That was like a year ago. We were offering bonuses for elephants.
Must have been there for a year.
Oh, well.
That's all I can surmise.
Well, just for cheek, I'll give you 10 points. I think it's brilliant. Extraordinary. This was a design for an object that was going to go in a place where now a more familiar landmark.
Est-ce que c'est le Tour Eiffel?
Non, ce n'est pas
c'est
la Tour Eiffel.
Arc de
C'est
Triomphe.
the Moulin Rouge?
Not the Moulin Rouge.
The
You got
Arc
it.
de Triomphe.
The Arc de Triomphe. Where the Arc de Triomphe now is, in l'Étoile, at the end of the Champs-Élysées, this was a design to celebrate the glorious achievements of Louis XV in the shape of an elephant, as you may have noticed.
Really?
Yes. It was a grand kiosk to the glory of the king. And...
A kiosk
Yeah, they called it a kiosk.
selling fags and stuff.
It was to have a form of air conditioning and furniture that folded into the walls, a drainage system in the trunk, which would also serve as a fountain. You could hold balls and banquets inside it.
A drainage system serving as a fountain.
Well, kind of, I guess. There is a large elephant, I believe, in Bangkok, a building in the shape of an elephant in Bangkok, huge building. But this sadly never happened. Instead, the Arc de Triomphe, which is the largest triumphal arch in the world, was placed a little later, 50 years later, by Napoleon to celebrate which
You see, now the
particular
Arc de Triomphe just looks shit.
Doesn't it? So dull.
Oh,
It's
it
basically
could
the
be
Marble Arch, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
much more than Wellington's Victory Arch, but it's bigger. Do you know what it celebrates? Which victory?
Austerlitz.
1806. Austerlitz is exactly right, yes.
Crikey, well done.
1806. Very good, very smart. And in 1919, Charles Godefroy, an aviator, flew his plane through it to celebrate the end of the war.
I bet he was pleased there wasn't an elephant there.
Very. And unfortunately, of course, Hitler marched there.
To celebrate the beginning of the war.
Well, kind of, yes, to celebrate his occupation.
Newfound
of
friends.
France. Yes, his new friends, exactly. So the answer was the Arc de Triomphe. It was planned in the shape of an enormous high-rise elephant with air conditioning, a spiral staircase, drainage system in the trunk. Now then, what are the symptoms of Paris syndrome? It exists. Paris syndrome. I had to be explained to me who that was. Yeah.
Is it auditory hallucinations in the third person, night's move thinking, and an inability to crochet?
No. It's very specific, and I like that. You have to picture the Japanese, who are taught, as many people are around the world, that Paris is the centre of sophistication, elegance, artistry, cosmopolitan élan and savoir-faire. And they arrive in Paris, and almost everything the French do is something that Japanese people find very difficult. Almost everything in the French language and the way it's spoken is to them somehow kind of offensive. Plus, they have to walk miles, they've got jet lag, and they suffer from Paris syndrome. And at its most serious, an average of 12 people a year have to be expensively repatriated to Japan. There is a 24-hour helpline in the Japanese embassy in Paris for Japanese people who are traumatised by the experience, the disappointment, the horror, the offence to their sensibility of Paris.
That's extraordinary.
Isn't that fabulous?
That is fabulous.
I think it reflects well on the Japanese myself.
I definitely had that when I went there.
Yeah.
Miserable bastard.
If you are traumatised by Paris, you're going to be traumatised by the French medical system, aren't you? Because what the French always do, whatever ailment you have, they give you a suppository.
At the bottom, you're quite right.
Don't they? Because they want to
That's
get
their
it.
answer for everything.
Yeah.
So Paris syndrome is an extreme form of culture shock that affects Japanese tourists. Now, who were described as a bunch of lunatics and a woman?
The words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, we're in France still. In Paris, in fact.
Is it the first revolutionary committee? Marat and that lot.
No, it wasn't. People. Nice thought. The woman's name was Berthe Morisot. Does that help? Who was Berthe Morisot?
She was the sister of someone, wasn't she?
She was.
She was,
She was a painter. She was, in her own right, an impressionist painter.
There's a bit of a clue in the...
It was the Impressionists. Yeah, the Impressionists generally were described as this. Now, of course, amongst the most valuable art in the world and amongst the most agreed upon in its lusciousness. But at the time was considered absolutely horrific. Horrific, unfinished, nonsensical drivel, artless, in fact, and valueless. And the word impressionist was an insult. It was given by a critic. Hello. Very nice.
It was just getting really itchy.
Oh, well, we can't have that. You look like a Greek Orthodox minister there.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
You were going for the archimandrite look.
Yeah. It's Archbishop Makarios.
I miss Makarios.
Yeah. Lovely. Whoops. Super. Anyway, yes. In the world of the Impressions. Do you like them?
No. Well, they've made no impression on me, Stephen.
Then they have not done their work.
No.
No.
The reason I knew the answer to that was because when I was 18, when I finished my A-levels, about 4 mates and myself went to Paris for a week and went to the Jeu de Paume, or wherever the Impressionist Museum was at that point, and stood in front of all these pictures by Manet and the kind of views of Rouen Cathedral, or Reims Cathedral or something, and started doing that really awful thing of going, oh, what tremendous use of light. And at that point, I actually did think, not for the first time in my life, I just thought of myself, what a tosser I am being. And it sort of effectively cured me of that sort of thing.
We had Mr. Bradshaw for art.
Yeah.
And on the first day, he gave us, this is double art, so it was 80 minutes of art. And he gave us each a copy of the Observer Book of Artists and told us to read it in silence.
I was really bored.
We were all bored and started, actually, ironically, doodling.
Very ironic.
And doing stickmen football matches and things like that. And then he said, do a size of a postage stamp painting of something you'd like to paint properly. And I did a steam engine I was quite pleased with it, but after a while, I didn't like it so much, and I did a black line all round it. And then I thought it looked great, quite dramatic. And he came and said, there wouldn't be a black line around it, would there? And painted it out.
What?
And then I went to an art gallery somewhere one day for no reason other than it was raining, probably. And there's some really famous painter, and everything in all of his paintings had a black line around it.
Yes, the famous painter, Bradshaw. I went to, oddly enough, to the Louvre, to the Hogarth exhibition. And what they don't like at the Hogarth exhibition is when you go from print to print and you go, there's Wally. There he is. Really easy to see because he's in red and black and they're black and white. Oh, look, there he is.
You think of Hogarth, the thing he must be most pissed off about is that he's basically remembered for being a roundabout on the A40.
Yeah.
The A4.
All that work.
Poor Hogarth.
All that work.
I know more about theatre,
Right.
French theatre people.
Roger
Ask me one of
Blanc
them.
and Jean-Louis Barrault.
No, not them.
Oh, right. Sarah Bernard.
We did Genet, UNESCO. Yeah, ask me about them.
I was just saying
I know about the
earlier,
Impressionists.
Jean Genet, a friend of mine was at a dinner party with the novelist Anthony Burgess and said, what do you think of Jean Genet? And he said, masturbator and excremental narcissist. Fair enough. It's a good thing to have on your gravestone, isn't it?
I wish.
What do you do? I'm an excremental narcissist.
Wish I'd thought of that in a seminar. That would have gone down a tree.
Do you know what the great influence on the Impressionists was? What really, in a way, kick-started their entire way of painting and looking at the world?
Was it alcohol?
No, I think that sustained many of them. It was a complete export. It's something we've been talking about. It's Japan. When Japan opened up again in the 1850s, all kinds of Japanese artifacts flooded into Europe, and the British, but particularly the Parisians, were absolutely obsessed with it. Right up to Van Gogh had an enormous collection of Japanese prints, and they particularly were astonished by the wrappings. The ordinary wrapping paper that was used for objects that came in, combs and hairbrushes, were wrapped, and they had this extraordinary way, this rough, simple way of painting and conveying things that completely transported these people. And how do they reward them? By being rude to them in restaurants and not serving them. Now, what comes from Paris has short legs and a big head, wears a permanent grin and refuses to act its age.
President Sarkozy, I think.
No, not him. We're thinking of something that isn't human.
Madame Cholet.
Very good.
Is it a panda or something ridiculous like that?
No, it's a Mexican creature, and if you think of
Chihuahua.
no, it's a really nice, crunchy, Aztec-sounding word, like their mountains. What are their mountains called in Mexico, you know? Popocatépetl, Cotopaxi, all that sort of names. This animal has a name like that.
Haddock.
Axolotl is the right answer. Well
I'm
done,
being so
Joe.
intelligent tonight.
Yeah.
What's come over
5
me?
points to Joe for axolotl. Yay. Yeah. Aren't they cute looking? They're a species of animal that sort of branched off from the main. They stopped metamorphosing. You know the way a tadpole turns into a frog? Well, this should be halfway through the life of a salamander. But instead, there's a sort of subspecies of salamander that decided it liked being halfway through and not turning into a salamander. But it can be, if you inject it with iodine, it will turn into a salamander.
It will also go bright yellow, presumably, will it? Or not?
It will go, I think it's a tiger salamander, it'll go a rather mottled colour. So it's a really extraordinary, they're very popular pets because they've got little cheeky, grinny faces.
What a great hobby. I'm an axolotl transformer. I walk around with a syringe full of iodine looking for axolotls. Salamander. Salamander.
And they have other extraordinary properties that make them very interesting. They heal without scarring, and if you cut an arm off, it grows a new one. Because, in a sense, they're almost made of stem cells. So they teach scientists an enormous amount about the way stem cells work.
And they are unbelievably cheerful.
They're so cheerful. And partly because they can regenerate.
They're like the cheerleader in Heroes, aren't they? That's essentially what
They are, exactly that. They're like her.
If you inject her with iodine, she might become a salamander. That'd be an interesting...
She might well.
Season 3.
Yeah, season 3.
They're popular pets, especially in Japan, oddly enough.
I bet they're not smiling when they get there, are they?
No. They come from Mexico. There's one particular lake, well, two, but one of them's dried up and the other one is now a series of canals and things. It's under Mexico City. And in the 19th century, 6 axolotls were taken to this French scientist who examined them. And almost all the axolotls in the world that are used as pets and everything are descended from those 6.
They breed them, do they? And you can buy them in
They're very
Paris
popular.
equivalent of loot.
They're very popular pets. They live underwater and they're cheerful, as you see.
And have they all got dreadlocks?
Well, that's the ferny bit I mentioned. It is ferny, isn't it?
What does it do?
It's those are gills.
External gills.
Yeah, yeah.
My ears are starting to look a bit like that now. It's okay.
Now, axolotls was the answer, a species of salamander that have refused to grow up. Most of the world's surviving population are descended from 6 that were imported into a Parisian lab in 1863. Napoleon once said an army marches on its stomach. Why would you want a Frenchman by your side in a fight? There is a Frenchman. Give me 5 points if you know who that Frenchman is.
It's Andre the Giant.
It is Andre the Giant, you're absolutely right. He was a well-known wrestler.
Yeah, yeah.
And also starred in an excellent film.
Called The Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride, you're right. Points
Trivia
for you,
points, yes, but not real points.
Excellent.
Which is his normal body colour?
I think...
He's going to a party at Judith Chalmers' house in one, and then in the other he's going around the Smurfs.
I'll give you 50 points if you can tell me who used to drive him to school when he was a boy.
Was it
President Sarkozy.
John
Vanessa
Wayne.
Feltz's aunt?
No, it was a Nobel Prize winner. And who's in Wisden? As a cricketer. Allons, on ne peut pas. Pourquoi? On attend Godot.
Oh, Beckett.
Samuel Beckett. Is
He's in Wisden.
Yes, he is in Wisden. The only Nobel
God.
Prize winner in Wisden, I believe.
What's he in Wisden for?
He was a fine cricketer in his day. In Ireland, as a young man. He was an excellent cricketer.
What
The
was it-
Mick
what was
doesn't
it-
play cricket.
It's in...
What did he used to do to Andre the wrestler?
He used to drive him to school. And he had this condition, Andre, which meant that his growth hormone couldn't be stopped. And so he had 13-inch wrists, for example.
He was
really
huge.
huge. But we use him as an example of a French soldier, which he wasn't
French soldier.
really. But why would a French soldier be a good person to have by your side?
Are they good at fighting?
Well, that's really the point. Yes, they are, despite their reputation for being miserable
Always
cowards.
losing.
Yeah, for always losing, they didn't. It seems, according to Niall Ferguson, the historian, of the 125 major European wars fought since 1495, the French have fought in 50, more than Austria, which is 47, and England, 43. And they achieved an impressive average. Out of a total of 168 battles fought since 387 BC, they've won 109, lost 49, and drawn 10.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Put the glasses back on.
Yeah,
Just pop them back on.
yeah.
Now, people flicking over the channel may suddenly think that they're seeing a Benny Hill retrospective. Hello, viewers!
There's a touch of that.
Oh, if only Henry
you can't-
McGee was on tonight, what a show you'd have.
Yeah.
We are speaking with Mr. Fred Scuttle. Yes, we are, sir. I have been hosting quizzes for some 20 years. My father used to build concrete barriers to stop cars. Bollards, it's true, sir.
We miss him dearly. The world needs Benny. Anyway, that's the point. Despite, what did groundskeeper Willie famously call them?
Ah, cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
Cheese-eating surrender monkeys. Despite that reputation for not being... In fact, there was a time when if you Googled French military victories, Google returned, because someone had written a very clever little program inside it, they returned, did you mean French military defeats? Extremely unkind.
They've had a bad recent record, though, haven't they? I mean,
Well,
they're going from 387 BC, but...
Obviously, Napoleon ultimately lost. A lot of victories on the way, but then we got the cane out of the cupboard and we gave him a damn good thrashing. And that was... Now, les jeux sont faits, rien ne va plus. Nous sommes arrivés à la point in le show where the TGV of savoir-faire hits the brick mur of je ne sais quoi, avec la ronde qui s'appelle General Ignorance. So fingers on buzzers, Alain, what did the Romans like to wear? the Romans?
Togas. Sandals. They wore sandals.
Sandals, they did wear sandals. But togas, although they did wear togas, they expressly did not like wearing them. They were huge and unwieldy.
Sick of this thing.
They actually, Augustus the emperor had to pass a law making Romans wear them within the forum because he didn't like them not wearing them. But they were huge things. They were vast and they were very hard to put on. You had to keep your left arm up in order for it not to slip off you. And they were totally unwieldy. That is a toga. That semicircle, sort of, that mandarin slice there is a toga next to a human being. It's a great semicircle of material.
That's a man windsurfing.
We had a toga party at my house in 1982.
And I'm sure you use much more convenient togas.
Sheets.
Sheets, exactly.
Duvet covers with a hole in.
My friend Danny had a pink sheet with Pontin's Holidays embroidered in the corner.
How stylish.
He did not get off with anyone.
No.
I laughed all night every time I talked.
Would they have different tog ratings of toga for the winter? Big old Romans just
Well, they had the
Very
toga
warm in
pulla,
Rome,
which was a dark toga, and they had the toga picta, which was a patterned toga, and they had the toga candida, and candida is the Latin for white. But the toga candida was worn by those who were entering an election, from which we get the word
Candidate.
candidate. Comes from that. Points. Definitely a point or two for that. Now, why do racing cyclists shave their legs?
Well, I hesitate to say for aerodynamic purposes.
You may well have hesitated. But you still said it.
That's what they do in the film Breaking
no,
Away.
you
I love
should
that
know,
film.
'cause
Well, yeah, but you
You've
see,
done
but
the Tour de France,
I've done
haven't
a
you?
leg of it, yeah, but I believed that it was for the reason Alan said, I'm not going to let the buzzer go off again.
No, it went twice. Don't worry, you're safe now.
Is it a sweat thing? then?
Not quite that. It's a sort of odd series of reasons, it appears. But there's absolutely no aerodynamic advantage, and they know it, apparently, because they all obviously have their doctors and scientists helping them. Swimmers, of course, they have a 2% advantage by shaving in water. But the main reason given is that it makes it easier to clean out a wound, is one reason. Sticking plasters stay on better and pull off less painfully. Cyclists have their calves massaged an enormous
You also
amount.
look far better in stockings.
And
once
it's more
you've finished.
comfortable in the shed. Well, and, yes, you're right, personal aesthetic considerations may also be a consideration. It's part of le look. Austrian cyclist René Haselbacher had his shorts ripped off in the 2003 Tour, and it emerged that he shaved the whole area, as you can probably see. Rather a Brazilian.
Oh, no.
But still designer stubble. How odd is that?
Yeah. Sorry.
Shaved from neck to toe.
It's a shame it doesn't make any difference, because I've been using the fact that I didn't shave my legs as an excuse for going 5 hours slower than the guy who won.
Which stage did you do?
I did what was there's an open stage every year,
Yeah.
an amateur stage.
And you're
But
allowed to join in?
You do it 2 weeks before they do it. So
I see.
8,000 of us did it. And by the end, there were 4,000 of us left at the end of it. I started in 2,400th place, and I finished in 3,400th place.
No.
I mean,
So I was
1,000
passed.
people over
I was
2
passed by 1,000 people, and it took me. It took 11 hours to do this stage. The winner of the actual proper stage, when they did it the next week, was a guy called Vinokourov, I think his name was. He did it in 5 hours, but he was using someone else's blood, and he was thrown out the stage that night for blood doping. But it took me 9 hours. It took me 9 hours to catch up the bloke with the one leg.
Well, I'm full of admiration for you, Hugh. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Now, why do Spaniards lisp when they speak?
Because the king lisped and everyone copied him.
Yeah, there is no evidence whatsoever for this. And if it were true, then they would lisp it all the time. They wouldn't say España, they'd say España, but they don't. Except there are very small areas where they lisp on the S as well, but that's considered very bumpkinish in Spanish. So it's just somehow one of these stories that's got around that isn't true at all.
Do you know that story about Arnold Schwarzenegger when they'd made Terminator and they did a German version of it? And he said, can I please dub it back into German because I speak German? And they said, no, because he's Austrian and he sounds like a farmer.
Now, where's John Connor?
Yeah.
Are you looking for John Connor?
Connor.
Oh, I'm in the future.
Won't be bad. Hasta la vista, baby. It's a hell of a thought.
I want your jacket.
Well, it certainly has nothing to do with sucking up to the king. It isn't technically a lisp, but a feature of pronunciation in Castile, no different from the curious northern British pronunciation of Bath and Grass, or, if you prefer, the curious southern pronunciation of Bath and Grass. Talking of kings, what did they call the man who won the Battle of Hastings?
Harold.
Ah, no, they called him.
And he lost, didn't he?
Yes. What did they call the man who won?
William the Conqueror.
William the Conqueror.
No, we call him William the Conqueror. What did they call him in the day?
Normandy, I think.
William le Conqueror.
But the fact is, no, the word William didn't exist at all as a name at the time of the conquest. He was known as Guillaume Bâtard. William the Bastard, in fact, was how he was universally known by the other French. It wasn't as rude to call him that.
The bloke on the left appears to be riding a llama. I mean, that's definitely a horse on the right. I mean, he's got a parrot. He's a random pirate, has arrived in the middle.
Well, I arrived on a busy day here in Hastings. Who's that doing the embroidery over yonder? Get my good side.
As you might see in the top left corner, the word William is kind of developing. It's become Wilgelm. Wilgelm.
No, it's Will6elm.
Wilgelm.
Normano, I like that.
Normano.
Yeah.
Is it Normano or?
Is that like medieval text speak? They never put the whole thing in. They just thought, you know, see you later.
Is
We
it
have
Norman?
been conquered.
We've invaded Britain. Lol.
OMG. Very good. So, they have indeed. That's basically the point. But all the Norman names, all the Saxon names disappear within 50 years of the invasion. All the Earwigs and Ethelreds and all those sort of names disappeared, and it became Hugo and Robert and Richard and William became the most popular names. William, 1 in every 7 men in England was called William within 50 years of William's conquering of England. Anyway, nobody called him William. The French called him Guillaume le Bâtard. As for the English, there was no equivalent name in Anglo-Saxon, so they just probably referred to him as the bastard. But sacré bleu, and zut alors, it is that time, ladies and gentlemen. Garçon, l'addition, s'il vous plaît. And I have the scores right in front of me. Here is the damage. Well. We have an outright winner, ladies and gentlemen, with 15 clear points. It's Hugh Dennis. There you go. Wow. There you go. In second place with Sank, it's Joe Brown.
Not bad for girls.
In third place with -2, it's Phil Jupiters. But with a magnifique -39, -39, Alan Davis. It only remains for me to wish you au revoir, à bientôt, adieu, and to say thank you to Joe, Hugh, Phil, and Alan. I leave you with the perfect French baiting headline from the Daily Telegraph of 1929. Great storm in Channel, continent isolated. Salut maintenant. Merci.
A double bill of Family Guy kicks off over on BBC 3 in 5 minutes. Classic Shakespeare next here on BBC 2, with tonight's first film, As You Like It.